This happened a few weeks ago. I'm Jake, 35, a freelance photographer. I was driving home late from a gig in the countryside. I thought the quiet back roads would help me unwind. They were familiar but starting to feel desolate as I left the small town behind. I haven't been able to stop thinking about what happened. One night, I pulled off the main road to photograph the stars. It felt peaceful at first. I set up my camera and looked up at the clear sky. But then, far away, I saw a flickering light. At first, I thought it might be a house. I felt a strange pull. I grabbed my gear and headed toward it. As I got closer, I found an abandoned car parked by the side of the road. The headlights were on, but no one was inside. I started to feel anxious. I looked around, expecting to see someone, but I was alone. The air felt heavy. I took a photo of the car, and the flash lit up the area. For a brief moment, I thought I saw a shadow moving behind a tree. Then it was gone. Over the next few weeks, I kept driving those back roads, trying to shake off that night. But strange things kept happening. Late one night, I stopped at a clearing to take a shot. That's when I heard it. A voice called my name, Jake. My heart raced. I turned fast, but there was nothing there. Just trees and shadows. I tried to tell myself it was just the wind. I drove home feeling uneasy. That feeling lingered. I started having vivid dreams about kids playing near the roadside. I didn't see kids out there, but the dreams felt real. Their laughter echoed in my head when I woke up, confused and sweating. One night, I went back to the spot where I saw the abandoned car. The light was gone. Chill ran down my spine. I felt like something was watching me. I took photos of the empty road, my hands shaking. Then I heard it again, a faint whisper, Jake. I turned, heart pounding, but there was nothing. Just darkness. I felt frozen. In that moment, I saw a shadow moving at the edge of my camera's flash. I blinked, and it disappeared. I stood there, feeling like I should run but couldn't move. I don't know why I kept coming back. Maybe I was hoping to find answers. I had to know if it was real. Maybe just tired. I still saw the shadowy figure in my mind. The kids were gone, but that voice still haunted me. What did it mean? I felt like I uncovered something I wasn't supposed to. These back roads, they hold secrets. I don't know what they want from me. What am I missing? I still think about it all the time. That night changed everything. I wasn't just drifting anymore, I was pulled into something. The next evening, I decided to take a different route home. I needed a break from those back roads. But as fate would have it, I found myself driving down a stretch I hadn't been on in years. The familiar trees loomed over me, casting long shadows across the road. I felt my heart race again, anxiety creeping back in. Still, I pressed on. I parked in a deserted area, the same place I used to stop when I was younger. I grabbed my camera, hoping to capture the golden hour light filtering through the leaves. Just as I framed my shot, something caught my eye. A flash of color, a red balloon bobbing against the greenery. Confused, I squinted into the distance. Balloons, like kids, weren't supposed to be out here. I hesitated, a knot tightening in my stomach, but curiosity got the better of me. I walked toward it, each step making my skin prickle. When I reached the spot, the balloon was almost deflated, tangled in the branches of a low tree. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was a sign. But from what? I pulled my phone out to snap a quick picture, and that's when I heard the giggling. It sounded like it was all around me. Kids. But how? I was frozen. The laughter rose and fell, like it was teasing, beckoning me. I swiveled around, ready to run, but there was nothing, just the balloon hanging there, swaying slightly in the breeze. I took a few shaky breaths, reminding myself to stay calm. Then it hit me, the dreams. The laughter from my nightmares. It felt too real. I reached for my phone to get out of there, no more messing around. But my hand trembled so much that I dropped it, and it clattered onto the gravel. As I bent down to pick it up, a different sound echoed in the silence. A slow, deliberate thud, like footsteps approaching. My heart pounded in response. I turned, fear gripping my chest, and then everything went dark. The lights of my phone flickered and died. I stood there, breathless, only the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. Was I losing my mind? The laughter vanished, replaced by silence so thick it felt suffocating. I fumbled around for my camera, praying that it had some battery left. I turned on the viewfinder and scanned the area, but there was nothing, only shadows. My panic threatened to explode. I took off back to my car, a feeling of dread settling over me. Just as I started to run, I looked back once more, compelled. And then I saw it. The shadow. No, not a shadow. A figure standing where the laughter had come from. I couldn't make out details, just the stark outline against the dying light. I turned and bolted to the car, heart in my throat. The figure didn't move, but I felt its presence, heavy and almost tangible. It was watching me. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking. Just as I got inside, I glanced at the spot again. Whatever had been there was gone. But I wasn't alone in that moment. I was being hunted. I drove away, shaking but determined to uncover the truth. I had seen a glimpse of something I wasn't supposed to. What was happening on those back roads? I needed to know. The questions surged within me, igniting a restless urgency. Would it end with answers or something worse? The next day, my head was a mess. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the laughter echoing in my mind. I tried to convince myself it was just a figment of my imagination, but deep down, I knew it was real. What had I stumbled into? I decided to take a day off work. I needed to figure this out. My first instinct was to talk to someone. Maybe my old friend Tom knew something. He used to love exploring those back roads when we were kids. I picked up my phone to call him, but my fingers hesitated. I didn't want him to think I was crazy. Instead, I texted, asking if he wanted to meet up. I avoided mentioning the details, just saying I needed to talk. He replied almost instantly, suggesting we meet at the diner downtown. I felt a flicker of relief. Over coffee and bacon, I struggled to share my story. I started with the balloon, but as I spoke, I saw the skepticism in Tom's eyes. I pushed on, recounting how the laughter had unnerved me, leaving me feeling stripped bare. I watched Tom's expression shift from confusion to concern. "I'm sure it's nothing," he said, trying to be reassuring. "Probably just kids messing around. Or it could be an echo of some sort. You know how sound travels in those woods." But I didn't want it to be nothing. I needed answers. And then, as though something clicked, I remembered the old tales, local legends about lost children who often roamed those woods. The thrill seekers whispered about sightings and strange sounds. Tom's eyes widened when I mentioned it. "People say that stuff has happened out there," he said, his voice low. "You think it's connected?" "I don't know," I replied, feeling a chill run down my spine. "But I have to go back." Tom shifted in his seat. "Do you really think that's a good idea? You just said you felt hunted." "I can't ignore it," I insisted. "I need to know what is going on." My determination filled the air between us. After breakfast, we took a ride back to the woods together. The atmosphere felt thicker, more oppressive this time. I parked in the same spot where I had seen the balloon, my heart racing as memories flooded back. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Tom asked, scanning the area. "I have to," I said, stepping out of the car. The woods were still and eerily quiet. I grabbed my camera, my lifeline. We walked a few steps in, and Tom was at my side, but I was already focused on the trees, trying to capture anything unsettling. As I framed the shot, I glanced over to where the balloon had been. That's when I saw it again, the faintest flash of red through the branches. My stomach dropped as I moved toward it instinctively. "Wait," Tom called, but I was already going, pulled in by an unseen force. As I got closer, I noticed a small, weathered sign half buried in the leaves. I bent down, brushing dirt off the surface. My breath hitched when I read the words, "Play area no children after dark." Before I could process what that meant, I heard the laughter again. Not from afar this time, but close right behind me. I whipped around, terrified. Tom's eyes widened. "Did you hear that?" I nodded, fear flooding me all over again. And then, as I looked back at the trees, shapes began to emerge, small figures darting between the trunks. I felt paralyzed, my mind racing with questions. What had I uncovered? And as we both stood frozen, I realized there was no turning back now. Whatever was out there was not going to let me walk away unscathed. I felt a jolt as if the world around me had shifted. The small figures flitted between the trees, their laughter piercing the stillness like an arrow. My heart raced. They were children, or at least they looked like children, but something felt off. "Get back," Tom whispered, stepping closer to me. I barely heard him over the ringing in my ears. I leaned forward, trying to get a better look at the shapes, but as soon as I spotted them clearly, they vanished like smoke in the air. "What was that?" I gasped. I was terrified they were just a trick of light or my imagination playing games, but Tom's tight grip on my arm brought me back to reality. "I don't know," he shouted, his voice strained. "But we need to leave. Now." I hesitated, the overwhelming pull of curiosity threatened to drown out my fear. I wanted to capture evidence, to show everyone I wasn't losing my mind. But the atmosphere felt thin, as if something was pressed against us, watching. "Let us just go back to the car," Tom pleaded, glancing nervously over his shoulder. I turned to look again, half expecting the children to reappear, but the woods stood silent. A knot twisted in my stomach. I shook my head. No, there has to be something here. Something that connects to all of this. Before Tom could protest, I took a few steps further in, my camera ready. I felt the need to document every detail, every small sign of what could explain the laughter. I focused on an ancient tree, its uneven bark resembling a face in the shadows. Suddenly, I heard it again, the laughter. Close but muffled, like it was just around the corner. "Did you hear it?" I asked breathlessly, excitement and fear mixing in my chest. "Yes, and it's time to go." Tom shot back, pulling at my sleeve. His urgency snapped me back into focus. I looked around and saw more movement, this time silhouettes darting behind trees, too fast for my eyes. Panic washed over me. What if I wasn't just seeing things? I turned to Tom. "We should call someone," I suggested, but my voice felt weak against the sinister air. He shook his head. "No phones are working. Remember? He had tried before we even left the diner." Desperation clawed at me. "We need to do something." Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted something on the ground, a woven bracelet, broken and dirty. I knelt to pick it up, my fingers brushing against the frayed edges. As I turned it over, something caught my eye, a small charm shaped like a balloon, the same shade of red I had seen hanging in the trees. "What is that?" Tom whispered, his voice just above a breath. "I don't know, but it's not just an accident," I said. "It's a sign." Just as the weight of that realization hit me, a rustle broke through the undergrowth. My heart raced as my gaze shot toward the noise. The shapes had returned, but they no longer played among the trees. This time, they stood still, watching us. "Run!" Tom shouted, and I didn't hesitate. Dash after dash, we sprinted back through the trees, dodging branches that reached out like fingers trying to snag us. The laughter echoed again, now merging with shouts and alarm, a warning. Every step felt heavier, as if the ground wanted to hold me back. I glanced over my shoulder, my breath coming in quick gasps. I could see them, clearer now, their smiles stretched too wide, their eyes gleaming bright. We burst out of the tree line, stumbling onto the road. I didn't stop until the car was in view, panting, heart pounding. What just happened? Tom asked, his voice shaky. I blinked. I didn't know. But I could feel it deep down. The woods weren't just a place for play, they held secrets that intended to be kept. And I had opened a door I couldn't close. I slammed the car door, trying to catch my breath. Tom fumbled with the keys, glancing nervously toward the trees as if they might spring back into view at any moment. We need to get out of here. Now. I know. I snapped, still rattled by what we had just seen. The laughter lingered in my mind, echoing like a haunting melody. It wasn't like anything I had ever heard before. Tom finally got the engine to roar to life, and I let out a sigh of relief. As we pulled away, I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. The trees watched us retreat, their branches swaying gently as if whispering secrets among themselves. Where do we go? Tom's voice quaked, breaking the silence that hung in the car. I didn't have an answer. My thoughts spiraled, replaying the image of those children. The way they stood there, the eerie stillness, their smiles too wide. Just drive, I said, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. I pulled out the bracelet I had found, turning it over in my hands. It felt wrong to have it. It should have remained there, hidden, away from prying eyes. Tom glanced at me as he steered onto a main road. What are we supposed to do with that? I don't know, I admitted. But someone might know where it came from. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the road as we drove toward the nearest town. The warm glow of day was quickly swallowed by the inky night, and with it came a creeping sense of dread. Let us stop at that gas station, I suggested, pointing to a flickering sign in the distance. Maybe we can find a map or ask about the woods. Fine, but I'll wait in the car, he said, his eyes darting around like he expected a figure to leap out at any moment. I stepped out into the night air, shivering as the chill bit at my skin. The gas station was small, more of a shack than a store. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow that did little to ease my nerves. Inside, I approached the counter where an older man, his face lined with shadows, stared back at me. You folks in town for the festival? He asked, his voice gruff and gravelly. No. We were just passing through the woods. My voice wavered. I didn't want to share what we had seen, but I needed to know more. Do you know anything about the old campsite? He raised an eyebrow, his eyes narrowing slightly. That place? Full of legends, you know. Kids have gotten lost there. Some swear they've seen things. What kind of things? Look, it's south, not my place to scare you. Just stay clear of the woods after dark. The warning sent a shiver down my spine. We already saw something. He leaned in closer, the light casting deep shadows on his face. Then you should leave before it finds you, he said quietly, as if he feared the others might overhear. I felt cold sweat form on my brow. What do you mean by it? Things don't take kindly to nosy folks. I backed away, fear prickling at my skin. I turned quickly, ready to leave, when something caught my eye in the corner of the store, a collection of missing person posters. My heart sank. The faces were not unfamiliar. They looked like hay. I called out, my voice strained. What about these kids? He looked at the posters, then at me, eyes dark and knowing. You shouldn't be here. Suddenly, outside, a flash caught my eye. I rushed to the window, my heart pounding as I saw silhouettes moving between the trees once more. Let us go. I cried, stumbling out of the gas station. The last thing I heard before we drove away was the man's unsettling laughter. Driving back toward the road, adrenaline surged through my veins. But that laughter wasn't just the echo of a haunting memory. It lingered, tightening around my chest like a vice. Did you see them? I gasped, still looking behind us. Tom nodded, his face drained of color. And that's when I noticed, the bracelet was no longer in my hand. I searched my pockets frantically, my stomach dropping. Where's the bracelet? I blurted out, fear creeping in again. I thought you had it. Panic rose in my throat. It was right here. As we sped down the road, I felt a chill wash over me. Whatever had drawn us into the woods hadn't let go. Something was waiting for us, and now we'd lost our only clue. Then everything went dark. I jolted awake, the sudden stop of the car sending a shock through my body. Tom's face was pale, illuminated by the moonlight pouring in through the windshield. What happened? I gasped, rubbing my eyes to shake off the fog. We ran out of gas, he said, his voice shaky. He looked around, the forest surrounding us looked even more menacing in the night. The trees loomed overhead, thick and unnatural, casting long shadows across the road. I didn't see the gauge. Great, I muttered, peering around. The gas station was far behind us now, and the only light source was the faint glow of the moon. Can we walk back? No way, he said, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to sanity. Not after what we just saw. I took a deep breath. The memory of the laughter echoed in my mind. Was it really safe to go back? But standing still felt worse. We can't stay here. Let us check the trunk for anything we can use. He hesitated but nodded. We climbed out, the night air biting into our skin. I opened the trunk and started rummaging through the supplies we had packed. Just old blankets, a flashlight, and a couple of snacks. No gas cans. As I closed the trunk, I felt its eyes watching us. I turned quickly, scanning the tree line. Did you hear that? I whispered. Tom nodded, his gaze fixed ahead. It sounded like whispering. Fear pooled in my stomach. We need to move. Right now. We stepped away from the car, dread tightening my chest. Then, to my left, something caught my eye, a flicker of movement. Look. I pointed toward the trees. A figure illuminated briefly in the moonlight, a child wearing a tattered shirt. Not again. Tom choked out, panic rising in his throat. Just stay where you are. I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice as I grabbed his arm. The figure stepped closer. I could make out the child's features now, pale skin, messy hair. But it was the smile that froze me in my place, stretching wider than seemed possible. You're in the wrong place, the child said, the voice hauntingly familiar, echoing the laughter from before. Turn around, Tom. I grabbed his shoulder and pulled him back toward the car. But he stood frozen, trapped in the terrifying gaze of the child. This isn't real. He screamed, pushing past me. Tom, no. I shouted, scrambling after him as he took a few steps forward. No. I have to find them. He yelled back fiercely. Before I could grab his arm, he surged ahead. The child's grin widened further, and I watched as more figures began to emerge from the darkness, others, all wearing those same twisted smiles. My heart raced as I glimpsed the others, different ages, different clothes, each too still, eyes locked onto Tom. Tom! I shouted again, panic surging. Get back here. I felt a pull, an overwhelming urge to turn and run, but I refused to take my eyes off Tom. He stepped closer to the figures, entranced, and I felt the ground beneath us shift, as if it were alive. That's when I saw it. The bracelet, glinting in the grass, shining like a beacon amidst the dark. I lunged down to grab it, and as I did, I could feel the air around me grow colder. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around my thoughts. They beckoned, calling me to join them. As I clutched the bracelet, I could hear Tom's voice falter in confusion, and the child took another step forward. I didn't understand why this felt so wrong, but instinct kicked in. I had to save him. Without thinking, I rushed forward, pushing past the figures, forcing myself between Tom and the child. I held up the bracelet like a shield. "Get away from him!" I shouted, my voice trembling but determined. In an instant, silence fell. Everything stood still, the air thick with tension, and then slowly the figures began to back away as if repelled by something unseen. Tom blinked, finally coming around. "What is happening?" "Running. Now!" I yelled, grabbing his arm and dragging him back toward the car. My heart raced as I stumbled, eyes darting to the shadows that lingered just beyond. They were still there, watching us retreat, their smiles fading into the darkness. We climbed into the car, panting as I fumbled with the keys. When the engine roared to life, I slammed the gear into drive and took off down the empty road. But as we sped away, I felt the phantom whispers linger in my mind. "Where did you find that?" Tom asked, his voice shaky. "It doesn't matter," I said, clutching the bracelet tightly. "We need to get far away from here." I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. Shadows danced among the trees, and for just a moment, I thought I saw the child's smiling face again. "We're not safe yet," I muttered, and I didn't know how I was going to explain that to Tom or even to myself. The road ahead stretched endlessly, a dark ribbon cutting through the forest. I kept my foot pressed against the accelerator, hoping to outrun whatever had chased us from the edge of that haunted place. Tom's breath came in quick, erratic bursts beside me. "What was that thing?" He finally broke the silence, his voice laced with a mix of fear and disbelief. "I don't know," I replied, my eyes darting between the road and the trees that towered menacingly beside us. "But we need to keep moving. Maybe we can find a place with people, lights. Anything." The bracelet lay heavy in my pocket, a constant reminder of the nightmare. I wanted to throw it out the window, but I also felt drawn to it. Every time I dared to glance at Tom, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still lingering on that edge, the grasp of the child pulling him from reality. "I think we should stop," he said suddenly, panic creeping back into his voice. "We need to know." I snapped, cutting him off. "We can't stop. Not now." A chill swept through the car, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The night felt alive, pulsing with unseen eyes that seemed to follow our every move. It was then, out of the corner of my eye, that I spotted something in the rearview mirror. A shadow, darting between the trees, moving far too quickly. My heart hammered. "Did you see that?" I gasped, gripping the steering wheel harder. "See what?" Tom looked back, his eyes wide with confusion. "I think something's following us." Just as I said it, a loud thud echoed against the trunk of the car. My stomach dropped. I swerved slightly, causing Tom to grab the armrest, his knuckles turning white. "What was that?" he yelled, panic overwhelming him. "I don't know. Just hold on." I pushed the gas pedal down harder, but something made contact again, more forceful this time. I glanced back again and my blood ran cold. A dark figure, not a child, not an adult, but something in between, clutching the edge of the car. The same twisted smile stretched across its face. "Get off!" I screamed, shaking the wheel, the tires screeching against the pavement. With one last effort, I thrust myself forward, and the creature lost its grip, tumbling back into the dark. "Oh God! Was that real?" Tom gasped, still looking back, disbelief painting his features. "What do you think?" I spat, my heart racing. That wasn't a hallucination. As we sped forward, I spotted a faint glow up ahead, lights flickering, almost like a beacon. A gas station. Relief flooded over me, but a new wave of anxiety followed. What if they didn't believe us? What if they weren't safe either? I pulled into the gravel parking lot and slammed to a stop. Tom glanced around nervously. This doesn't look right, we should just keep going. No. I snapped again. We need help. Let us just check it out. Reluctantly, he nodded, and we hopped out, watching our surroundings as we approached the small building. The air felt heavy, charged with an unspoken tension. The door creaked open, revealing an elderly man behind the counter. His eyes widened at the sight of us, a mixture of concern and something else I couldn't place. You kids shouldn't be out here at this hour, he said, his voice gravelly. It's not safe. My heart sank. We just need gas, I said, desperation leaking into my voice. And maybe directions. Thought you'd be better off than this, so far from where you came, he replied slowly, eyes flickering to the darkness outside. Those woods hold things you don't want to mess with. I shivered. We know. Just then, I felt it again, the weight of eyes on me, a prickle along my spine. I turned, half expecting to see the figures lurking in the shadows. Instead, I saw the child again, standing out of reach, grinning wider than before. There he is. I pointed. Right there. The old man turned, his expression darkening. You shouldn't taunt them, he warned. They like it when you fear them. Staying rooted to the spot felt impossible. As the figure began to melt into the shadows, I realized we were running out of time. We need to go. Now. I blazed past Tom, yanking. The door opened again and running back to the car, my pulse racing. The whispers grew louder in my mind, urgent and alive. Come on. Tom shouted, scrambling after me, but I caught just one last glimpse of that terrifying smile. Something gripped my heart, it felt familiar and yet alien. But before I could process it, I jumped into the driver's seat again, gripping the steering wheel like it was my lifeline. You ready? I asked, breathless. Let us go. Just go, please. He exclaimed, and I put the car in gear. As I turned back onto the road, I couldn't shake the feeling we were heading right into something worse. Those eyes were not done with us yet. The headlights beamed ahead, cutting through the darkness like a knife through fog. The road felt narrow and winding, and I fought to keep my focus on the asphalt. Tom sat beside me, silent but tense, as if the words stuck in his throat. I could hardly blame him. Do you think it's safe to talk? He finally asked, glancing out the window. What if it's still following us? I swallowed hard. I don't know. I don't think we should mention the child. Not until we figure this out. He nodded, but the tension in his shoulders didn't ease. Every mile felt like an eternity. I tried to distract myself, but every shadow outside the car felt like a threat. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. I could still see that twisted smile burned into my mind. As we drove, the faint glow of our last stop faded behind us, and I felt the weight of isolation seep in. No other cars passed. The only sound was the steady thrum of the engine and our labored breathing. Do you think we should ask for help again? Tom said, voice low. What help? I snapped, frustrated. Did you see how he looked at us? Like we were the crazy ones. He dropped his head, nodding slightly. I hated that he was right but refused to admit it. The thought of going back made my stomach churn. Suddenly, I spotted something out of the corner of my eye. A flicker of movement in the trees. My heart raced. Did you see that? See what? Tom's voice shook. There's something there. I jerked my head in the direction of the movement, but of course, it was gone. Just like before. What is it? His panic was tangible. I pressed my foot harder on the accelerator, but the gravel roads made things bumpy. I don't know. But I want to get to a town or something. Anywhere with people. A thick silence enveloped us again, the oppressive atmosphere weighing heavily like a wet blanket. I decided to distract myself. So, did you finish that project for history? I asked, trying to sound casual even as dread clawed at my insides. I was going to, he said slowly, but then he trailed off, and I knew he didn't want to bring up the child again. Just as I shifted in my seat, something made contact again with the rear of the car. A low thud, like a blow to the heart. What was that? I shouted. I don't know. Tom's voice rose to a strangled pitch as he whipped around to look. Stay in your seat. I barked, and I felt a surge of adrenaline. My mind briefly raced with the thought of pulling off to confront whatever it was. But that idea was quickly suppressed by sheer terror. Just drive. He yelled, panic taking over. Before I could respond, the rearview mirror flashed a fleeting glimpse of a dark figure. It was too quick to recognize. It felt like a jolt shot through me. I swerved to the left, narrowly missing a low-hanging branch. The car veered dangerously, and I fought to keep control. We skidded to a stop on the side of the road, the headlights illuminating a small clearing ahead. Relief turned to confusion when I noticed there was a makeshift grave marker, a simple wooden cross. What the hell is that? Tom whispered, staring wide-eyed. I don't know, I replied, stepping out of the car, though every instinct screamed not to. Something compelled me forward. The air was thick and cold, almost electric. My heart raced as I approached the grave. The name scratched into the wood was barely legible, almost as if it would fade away entirely. Don't! Tom shouted from the car. Get back in. We shouldn't be here. I hesitated, a sick curiosity bubbling inside me. Then I noticed something glinting at the base of the cross. As I reached down, a small, familiar object caught my eye. It was the bracelet, the same one I thought was lost in the woods. And just like that, the air changed. Goosebumps erupted on my skin. I felt eyes upon me again, and I whirled around. There it was, the child, closer this time, smiling widely, teeth shining impossibly in the headlights. It wasn't just a haunting image, it wasn't something I could look away from. Get in the car. Tom screamed, and for once, I understood his fear. I dropped the bracelet, diving back toward the car. As I hopped into the driver's seat, the shadows seemed to thrum with life. The child hadn't moved, but I felt its gaze burrowing deep into my soul. Go. Go now. Tom cried, and I didn't hesitate to hit the gas. I tore away, throwing glances into the mirror. The clearing quickly faded, but the sense of being watched lingered. As the darkness swallowed the headlights, a question nagged at me: how was I supposed to outrun something when it already knew me? I drove faster, the engine roaring like a wild animal. Tom was silent, his eyes darting anxiously between the road ahead and the rearview mirror. I could feel the tension radiating from him, thick and suffocating. What if it follows us? He finally whispered, barely audible over the engine noise. I don't know, I admitted, my voice shaky. But we have to get out of here. The road stretched ahead, a serpentine ribbon that offered no comfort. My mind raced with fragmented thoughts: the grave, the bracelet, the child's unsettling smile. Why had it drawn me there? What did it want? I took a sharp turn, gravel flying from beneath the tires. The headlights flickered over the jagged trees that lined the road. Then, amidst the shadows, I spotted it again, a figure. My heart stumbled. Did you see that? I blurted, my voice barely above a whisper. See what? Tom strained in his seat, peering through the windshield. That shape. In the trees. The figure was gone before I could even point. Defensive instincts kicked in, and all I wanted was to put as much distance between us and whatever that was. I can't take this anymore. Tom shouted, his panic finally spilling over. You have to go back. We should be never left. Are you kidding? I shot back. You really want to go back there? The air felt electric, charged with tension. I could feel it in my bones. Suddenly, the car jolted. Something had hit us again, harder this time. I slammed on the brakes. What the hell was that? I yelled. Get out. We need to see. Tom said, his face paling. Are you insane? I shot back. We don't know what's out there. But as I looked back, the headlights illuminated the road behind us. There was nothing, just empty space. I hesitated, caught between the fear that gripped me and the sick curiosity that pulled at my instincts. Then the car lurched again, this time accompanied by an unsettling sound like laughter, almost childlike, but twisted and far too close. Drive. Tom screamed. Just drive. I didn't need to be told twice. I floored the accelerator again, tires screeching. But as we careened down the road, the laughter echoed in my ears like a haunting melody. I could hardly see past the beam of light. I focused, but the trees seemed to lean closer, as if trying to swallow us whole. My chest tightened. I glanced at Tom, who was gripping the edge of his seat with white knuckles. I can't shake the feeling that we're not alone, he muttered, visibly shaken. Me neither, I confessed, the words slipping out before I could stop them. We should never come this way. A sudden flash of light caught my attention. I squinted at the road ahead. It was brighter than the headlights, dancing almost. What is that? I don't know, Tom said, his voice trembling. As we got closer, the light revealed itself. It was a figure, standing right in the middle of the road. I slammed the brakes, my heart thrumming like a drum. The car skidded to a halt, gravel spraying like confetti. It was the child again. The same wide smile, but this time with eyes that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. Get out, it whispered, and even from inside the car, I felt the command pull at me. Drive. Drive. Tom shouted, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, locked in place by the intensity of that gaze. That's when everything turned dark. The headlights flickered and died, leaving us in utter blackness. I blinked hard, my heart pounding. The stillness wrapped around us, thick as fog. Can you see anything? I whispered, but Tom was silent, his breath heavy in the air of the car. I fumbled for the ignition, hoping the engine would come back to life, but it remained stubbornly dead. The shadow in front of us took a step closer. I could feel its breath against the windshield, the child's face hovering just out of reach. Come play, it beckoned, voice sweet yet taunting, a siren call meant to entice and ensnare. Get out of here, Jake. Tom finally shouted, his voice breaking into a desperate panic. That snapped me back. I was not going to let this thing have me. I shook my head and grabbed the flashlight from the glove compartment, pressing the button to narrow its beam. Suddenly the darkness felt less overwhelming, and I directed the beam toward the figure, illuminating its haunting smile. And in that moment, something shifted. The child flinched, its grin faltering. No. It squealed, making a single, sharp, unsettling noise as it shot back into the shadows. The trees around us seemed to sigh with a collective breath. Why won't you play? It taunted from the darkness, its voice echoing chillingly. Just ignore it. Tom urged, the fear in his voice anchoring me. It wants you to engage, stay focused. With adrenaline pumping through my veins, I scrambled to regain control, pushing open the car door cautiously. We need to find help, I told Tom firmly, steeling myself against the creeping dread that threatened to paralyze me. Are you out of your mind? He stared at me as if I had lost my senses. It's out there, and you want to. I cut him off, my resolve hardening. If we stay here, we're not going to make it. We have to try. He hesitated but nodded slowly, fear etched into his features. Together, we stepped outside, the cold air wrapping around us like a shroud. I swept the flashlight around, the soft beam cutting through the darkness, and the trees seemed to come alive with whispers. "Just stick close," I said under my breath, a mantra to steady myself against the rising panic. We moved together toward the dull glow of what appeared to be lights in the distance, a promise of civilization and safety. The laughter followed us, little giggles bouncing off the trees, children's laughter that pierced through the night, a sick mockery of normalcy. Both of us quickened our pace, the sounds of footsteps echoing behind us sporadically, unsettling and near. As we ventured deeper into the woods, the faint light drew nearer. I could make out the outline of structures, a weathered cabin that lay nestled between the trees. "Maybe they'll have a phone," I murmured, urging us on. We dashed toward it, the sense of urgency propelling us forward. But as soon as we reached the door, I hesitated. The laughter grew louder, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "Do you hear that?" Tom whispered, his eyes wild. "It's like they're everywhere." "Just stay close to me," I said, trying to keep the tremor from my voice. I pushed the cabin door open with bated breath, and the hinges groaned, reluctantly revealing the interior. Inside, the cabin was dimly lit, shadows dancing across the walls. As we stepped in, I felt a chill creep up my spine. The air was thick, electric, like static just before a storm. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. Even as I stood there, I could feel something shift in the atmosphere, as though unseen eyes were watching us closely. Then, abruptly, the laughter stopped. "Jake," Tom said, his voice small. "We shouldn't have come here." And before I could respond, the door swung shut behind us, heavy and final. Each heartbeat echoed in the quiet, and I didn't dare look at Tom. "What now?" I whispered, panic tightening my throat. I turned to find a line of photographs hanging on the wall. My stomach sank as I recognized familiar faces, missing children, each smiling eerily from the past, trapped in the moment before their disappearance. My breath hitched, and I tore my gaze away. A figure lurked in the corner of the room, just out of reach of the flickering light. The child stood there, grinning, fingers reaching toward us with that same unnatural eagerness. "They wait for you to play," it sang sweetly. "Join us." "No." I shouted, stepping back instinctively. "We're leaving." But it was too late, the way out was gone. The walls closed in, and the laughter returned, a swirling cacophony of voices, children's giggles weaving together into a haunting melody. "Run!" I yelled, grabbing Tom's arm and pulling him deeper into the cabin. The shadows shifted, and the figures emerged from the walls, their smiles wide and expectant. "I don't think we can escape it," Tom shouted, panic making his voice rise. I swept the flashlight over the room, revealing shapes darting at the edges of the light. "This way." I directed us toward a back door I'd spotted, praying it would lead us someplace safe. As I reached for the handle, the door creaked open on its own. A rush of cold air flooded in, carrying with it the lingering echo of those children's laughs. "What is this?" Tom asked, his voice wavering, fear crackling like the static around us. I stepped over the threshold, the flashlight illuminating a vast expanse of trees beyond. It felt almost familiar. Then it hit me, we were back in the woods, disoriented but surrounded by echoes of joy that twisted to despair. "Jake, we're still in the woods," Tom cried, taking a step back, the shadows growing closer around us. "We need to get back to the road." But as I turned to run with him, the path behind us had vanished, obscured by twisting trees that loomed overhead, blocking our escape. The whispers returned, growing anxious and fervent. And then, just as abruptly as it started, the laughter subsided, leaving a heavy silence. "Why won't you stay?" The child's voice echoed, soft and inviting. I felt something tug at my mind, a pull to turn and confront whatever fear lurked behind us. "We have to keep moving, don't look back," I insisted, my mind racing with questions. But deep down, I felt a part of me captivate by those smirking faces from the photographs. As we forged ahead into the woods, the trees closed in, and I realized we had walked too far. I didn't know if we were running toward salvation or reckoning. I could still hear the laughter playfully luring us back with every step. The child's voice faded to a whisper against the dark, "You could play forever." I caught Tom's eye, and we silently made a pact of understanding. Whatever was out there, whatever we had discovered, we would face it together. As the shadows lengthened behind us, the path ahead remained uncertain, a haunting mystery that would linger forever in the corner of my mind.